Hello. I'm a high masking autistic person struggling to get by in life. And today I wanted to talk about that and how specifically it affects me in my life and my endeavors and many other things. So this is not scripted and this is not intended to reflect the experience of every person that struggles with, high masking autism. Simply to reflect on things that I am going through, because I believe that talking about it is the best way to educate other people. So I guess we're gonna do that today. Some facts about me: I'm very sensitive. I'm quite awkward. I come off as very charismatic sometimes, just because I have trained myself a lot to seem a certain way, to appeal in a certain way to others. There's a mosquito flying and it's bothering me. Anyways. Aha. Stupid. Anyways. I struggle a little bit socially, and I struggle a lot to fit in with society. I'm very burned out. I also am, I also have ADHD, and I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder when I was 14, which is debatable. I don't know. Considering the environment I was in, of course I'm gonna be anxious, so I don't fully believe that I have an anxiety disorder to this day. I still just think that I was very anxious, but that's another conversation. And yeah, I'm 21. I live by myself, and that's pretty much it. One of the ways that I feel very affected by my condition is that socially I feel like the odd one out, no matter how much I try to make people like me or not. No matter how much effort I put into being social or seeming appealing in a certain way, it doesn't work. And it's very isolating, and it feels like you're always an alien. And this also applies to my family, friends, co-workers, people that I'm meeting. It's very exhausting also because I feel like I am constantly putting up a performance. My life very much feels like one big performance, and it's very exhausting. And at some point in my relationships, I get tired of performing for others. So I feel like I am slowly unmasking in my relationships, and often I realize that it's exactly what ruins them. Now, I know that a lot of you would say then that means that they were not good people to begin with. But it's crazy how you realize that most people are not good people to begin with in that case, because even people closest to me or people that I looked up to a lot, when I start unmasking and I start being truly myself, things change for them and they don't recognize me anymore, and it hurts. And the thing is that, of course, you want to build a relationship on authenticity, but when it comes to my life personally, I've realized that it was much harder to do so. Even if I have recently acknowledged the fact that I will struggle no matter what. Like, I would struggle to have relationships with people no matter what, so I might as well just show up as myself. And I am in the process of slowly learning how to unmask and how to be myself without extra sparkle and glitter, if you will. And yeah, however, it's still a thing, like, especially in the workplace, I have found, or with certain people that I sort of have to fit in. I really have to put up a show, a performance, and despite this show and performance, my flaws still peek through. This brings me maybe to my second thing that I really struggle with, which is work. It's really hard to find a job and to keep a job and to care for myself. I feel like I live in a society where it's very much individualistic, as in I take care of myself and I do things for myself, but I realize that I'm not fully capable. And that really sucks. And it's a very scary reality to live in because then what is the other option? If I struggle to have deep relationships, meaningful relationships, if I feel like being autistic feels like you're never truly close with people, there's always like a glass panel separating you from the rest of the world. You're always a little bit too much on the left, a little bit too much on the right. You're never just fitting in. I feel like people don't fully understand me, and therefore they cannot care for me if they don't fully understand me. So it's a very scary reality. They cannot fully adapt to me if they don't understand me, etc., etc. So it's hard to take care of myself. It's hard to work. It's hard to find work. It's hard to keep work. My brain doesn't function in that way. I feel extremely burned out consistently throughout my life. In my younger years, through my academics, it was really rough. I was not taken seriously in my struggles because I was very good at school. And later on, it was really in my adult life that everything crashed down, when people truly realized that I struggled a lot. Because now it was not about performing on tests and everything. It was about performing in life, which I was never good at to begin with. So career is really hard. I'm very exhausted easily, and I feel like my brain sticks to very little things that my employers don't want me to stick on, and the way that I function, it's not the same. It's not the same. And I can say confidently that I was discriminated at my workplaces because of this. I saw how my employers acted with other employees, my coworkers, and how they acted with me. They refused to give me tips and stuff like that. Tips as in money. They refused to pay me fully, etc. Because I was never doing a good enough performance, but I will never be able to do that. Ultimately, I've lived a lot of struggles with my work, so that's also something that I'm struggling with. I really struggle to find jobs because all of my experiences were very bad. And how it affects me in my personal business is that I am very, I enjoy a lot what I do, but I realize that I don't have the persona or the things that would be typically required for me to succeed in the fields where I am currently. I don't know a lot of famous or very successful in the terms of society, of course, autistic people. I think that to a certain extent, if you want to succeed in your business or in your endeavors, such as mine, you have to be very charismatic, very consistent, etc., etc. And I don't function like that. So I feel like overall I'm a failure in a lot of things. I cannot work properly. I cannot make relationships properly. And that's kind of like my last point. I feel very bad about myself simply for the way that I am. I felt a lot of frustration in my life. Why am I the way that I am? Why am I not more like this, less like that? I compared myself a lot to others. I deeply analyzed others to try and understand, okay, what do they have that I don't have? And the answer is very simple. It's quite the opposite. What do I have that they don't have? I have my conditions. They don't. And I feel like it's a very difficult thing to explain to people that are not on the spectrum or not very familiar with people on the spectrum or this sort of thing, because to you it may not stand out a lot, but to me it does. And being autistic affects my life in every shape and way and form. It affects everything about me, just my facial features, my level of eye contact, my physical movements, the way that I speak. It affects every thing about me and every sphere of my life. I would say I don't really struggle with things that others struggle with, apart from being very sensitive. I'm very sensitive to things touching my skin, smells, sounds, especially sounds, touch, eyesight maybe. Like there's certain things that overstimulate me. Going into a grocery store where everything is like the neon lights and everything's like incredibly colorful and packed, is just like like it's so much. I'm losing my mind. But anyways, I'm very sensitive, but I don't struggle necessarily with foods that much. I'm very clean and organized. So once again, I feel like my condition doesn't show that much, because you would come into my home and you'd be like, this is a pretty neat home and I look pretty neat and everything. And then when I start talking and doing things, you're like, okay, you're like that. Anyways, my brain is kind of scattered at the moment. This is why I'm drinking a caffeinated beverage to like kind of help me to stay focused and grounded on what I want to say. It's pretty early and I thought I would film this video because why not? And I know that this video is probably not going to get views and people are not going to listen to it, or they're not going to listen to it for the entire video, which is fine. I know it's something that YouTube is known for. People don't watch fully, and that's okay. I'm okay with it. I just wanted to, I guess, express myself and express certain things that I struggle with. And this is not scripted. This is very authentic. I just set up my camera and I'm talking and you're listening. Finally, I think that the last thing that being on the spectrum like really reflects in my life and affects me a lot is my like trauma. I guess this is not a good idea to end on such a dark note. Let me think about something else. I got it. Okay. Yes. So growing up as an autistic child was very hard. I felt very neglected, rejected. No one takes me really seriously. I got heavily picked on and I struggled to do basic things a lot and it sucked. So I feel like, unfortunately, very sadly, if I was not on the spectrum, I feel like my life would be extremely different, perhaps incredibly better. But I am on the spectrum, so there's no point in imagining it. But I went through a lot of hatred and violence and judgment and neglect and pain. It was very painful. I lived through a lot of hard things, and I wouldn't say it's entirely because of me being on the spectrum. I think that everyone has some kind of difficult experience, but this is something that followed me my entire life, and it was hard. Growing up like this was hard, and it still affects me as an adult, and I still have a lot of echoes from these things that happened in the past, such as, for example, like I said, me learning to be extremely charismatic and likable entirely stems from me not being liked my entire childhood. Me having a very deep fear of abandonment, trust issues, anxious attachment. A lot of things stem from my childhood, yes, but I realized that a lot of things I went through is just because I was on the spectrum. I hope it makes sense. On a very positive note though, I feel like me being autistic allows me to have a perspective on the world that is quite unique and very, I wouldn't say unbiased, but I found myself to be very close to my morals and to think a lot. It's something that I love doing. I love to think about things, ponder, question, and therefore I feel like in terms of life philosophy or morals and values, I feel like me being on the spectrum and being so deeply interested in these things and having such a deep sense of justice makes me someone that has a lot of depth to my heart, my mind, my character. That's also something that you have to learn at some point. You cannot spend your life masking and being someone that you're not. So I just learned to be very authentic at an early age. I'm trying to balance things that I have learned and things that I am. So it's kind of weird, but it's true. And I would say that my interests, the interests that I have, kind of help me to navigate life a lot. I don't feel like, I feel very passionate. I don't feel like I'm living my life for no purpose. Most of the time I say I live my life to enjoy it. And I think that in a certain way, it's a superpower to know what you love and to indulge in it so freely, because a lot of people don't know, or they don't dare. And I feel like it's a great blessing. And finally, I would say, being so sensitive as I am, I have a great sense of empathy for others. I'm very honest. And yeah, I said finally, but maybe there's another one. I feel like it helps me channel my creativity a lot. Once you develop this kind of I'm an outsider perspective, it hurts, but also it allows you to observe things in a different way and to express them in your own way. And it's a very fascinating experience. So I feel like the things that I create are not quite unique, because I don't know, being unique doesn't exist anymore. Everyone is influenced by others. But at least I can say it stems from a very interesting point of view. And that's pretty much it. So to finish off this video properly, I think I would say, to those of you who are also on the spectrum or think that you are on the spectrum, it's fine. Like, I can live my life and I can still enjoy my life. I know it's hard. A lot of things are hard about this. It's still considered a disability, or at least a mental issue. And I just want to say that life goes on beyond the diagnosis, beyond the struggles. You're still an entire person, and there's still value to all of that. And there's a community for you. It's maybe hard to believe, because especially if you're like older, you're like, where's the community? But maybe the community is autistic people themselves. I don't know. But all I want to say is that you may be the odd one out or feel like you are one, but there's many other people that feel the same way. Maybe this isn't comforting. I'm sorry if it isn't. But lastly, for the people that are not on the spectrum, I really advise you to look at your vocabulary first. I don't like how people are using terms like, oh, that's so autistic, or like autism behavior, when something is stupid. Autistic people are not stupid. And this is why it's a spectrum. There's various ways to present as autistic. It doesn't show up the same in every person. So anyways, I just wanted to say don't. And it's not the end of the world, really. Being autistic is just a condition. And what would really help is that you learned about it, first of all, and that you were truly listening and being empathetic instead of trying to fix it or whatever. Just truly listen and understand. And when people understand and actually actively try to make things better for autistic people, this is how the world gets better. So I would advise you to keep learning. If you learn at least one thing through this video, I'm already happy. But the key to being a true good ally is just to understand, uplift, and listen to the voices of autistic people, to take their needs, their boundaries, and etc. etc. So yeah, that was it. So good morning. and enjoy the rest of your day, night, evening, morning of your time. Goodbye, and thanks for sticking with me.